need the ring light.
Oh.
That was probably a good intro right before the intro with me and my hands like that.
Hey, we're getting ready for Halloween.
What do I do with my hands?
I never know what to do. But anyways, happy Tuesday, guys. Kayla McDonald.
Happy Tuesday.
And we got Lindsay Weber with Keystone Mortgage Solutions. And today we have DNR Pest Control on with us. So thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I know that it's probably terrible. You guys, probably in the AC, and a lot of your days are spent outside in the heat.
Pretty rough.
What a struggle this is right now.
Not good.
We were teasing and saying that they could have done it from the field. They could have, but I'd much rather be inside.
I would have had to have somebody, powder in my forehead the whole time because I would have been sweating bullets. So.
Yeah.
Wait, t-shirt contents immediately.
We would have had 1 million followers if that would have happened. So we're kind of disappointed that you didn't do that. So thanks for that.
Next one.
Next time, for sure. So why don't we kick it over to you guys? Let us know how you got into the business, how you guys came together. How do you guys know each other? Just give us the whole lowdown. Who you are, what you do, all the fun stuff.
All the good stuff.
Sure. So Dustin and I met through a mutual friend. We actually went to the same high school, but we kind of ran in separate groups. We all know how that runs in high school. Everybody has their own cliques. So, but we, like I said, we met through a mutual friend. Been friends ever since, most of the time, I think. Now being business partners, it's it's definitely fun. But we worked for a local pest control company in Newport Richey called Nelson's Pest Control. So Dustin actually helped me get the job there. So thanks for that. And I've kind of been in and out of the industry for about 10 to 15 years. Owned my own company in Georgia for about just over 3 years, I believe, when we lived up there for just over 3 years. That's kind of where I started my career in owning a pest control business. It was just kind of a small nights and weekends thing. So that kind of got my feet wet in owning a pest control business, then moved back down to Florida because that's, kind of where the heart is. Friends, family, and everything. So we decided to move back down to Florida. Started working for a supplier, so I was selling the chemicals to pest control companies, lawn care operators, things like that. And then Dustin's been in the industry nonstop for about 15 years. So yeah, I'll let him go.
Yeah, been in the industry about 13 years. Could probably go on 14 next year. I think April. Yeah, it'll be 14 years. Like Ricky said, started at Nelson's Pest Control. Long time ago, enjoyed the work very much. Moved on to a larger box company, enjoyed that for a very long time. Did it about 9+ years there, and always wanted to kind of go out on my own. Couldn't wait, and the cards kind of lined up perfectly. So Ricky and I work well together. Our wives work well together. So it's a team effort between husband and wives. Wives are answering the phones and helping out on their days off. They both work full-time jobs. Even when we started, I was still working other places and filling that gap until we were full time. But enjoyed the work. Just never hated pest control. As oddly and as dirty and nasty as that may sound to most people, but I just enjoyed solving the problems, figuring out solutions, and of course, at the end of the day, nobody wants bugs in their home. So it's nice to leave someone's house. It's one of those thankless jobs. As long as they're not calling back, you did your job. So they're not calling back about issues, about rodents or roaches. You did a good job. But enjoy the industry through and through, and not looking back.
So
sorry.
We do this all the time.
One at a time.
Gosh, I know, we're so excited.
Go.
So how do you initially get started? What made you wake up one day and be like, you know what? I want to go and be in pest control. I love bugs. I want to, I don't know, I guess kill them or.
Sure.
I love them. I want to kill them.
Or you want to save them, but extract them from a house. How do you get into that? What kind of transpired into just getting into both of you
Sure.
into this career in this industry?
For me, I lived in an apartment. I had a cat, lived on the second floor. I tracked in fleas, I guess, somehow from my socks, a lot of stray animals around the neighborhood, got onto my socks, brought the fleas in the house. Within a couple of days, the apartment was infested. A good buddy of mine dropped off some products for me and said, use this, twice, use it 1 week, wait another week, use it again, coat the floors in the apartment. And I did it. And at the time they were starting to look for help. So took on the job, enjoyed it very much. It just never seemed like work. And then from there, I just always did pest control. So for me, it was just I had an issue and someone helped me out that's been in the field forever.
Yeah.
I think
You're like a chemist.
Yeah, it's definitely, more scientific than people kind of give it credit for. But for me, it was I kind of worked those dead end jobs that everybody did in their early 20s.
There's a roach behind you.
We might have a special guest here soon. We've all had those jobs where kind of our teens and early 20s years where it really wasn't something you really had a passion for. And I honestly had no idea that I had a passion for doing pest control work until I jumped on board with Dustin at Nelson's back in the day, and just really enjoyed it. Like you said, it's kind of a thankless job most of the time, but most of our customers do love us, hopefully. But it's really good. It's a good feeling to be able to correct something or fix an issue that a customer or a future customer or a past customer that's had for however long, a year or 2 years, 5 years, and they've had pest control companies in the past and they just haven't been able to figure it out. And being able to come in and figure out that issue and solve it really makes us feel good. So that's kind of what makes me really enjoy the industry.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants bugs in their house. I can tell you, I don't. Before I start babbling, I feel like you guys have an issue you need to take care of.
Yeah, we're at a potential new customer's house here real soon.
Lindsay, you were going to say something, ask something.
I had an epiphany. So I don't know if that we ever actually worked together, but I used to use Nelson's for all of my inspections back in the day. And like you started talking about it and I'm like, do they know me? Like, and remember, and I don't remember them. Like, I want to go back into all of my emails and see, because I of course have all that stuff. But I used to use Nelson's for everything. We had to. It was different time, but we had to have inspections all the time, and Nelson's was my go-to to order all my inspections, or if we had any problems. Like you were number one on my list for a really long time. It's been a gazillion years ago.
They sold out a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were bought out, and then that company was bought out. So that's kind of what happens in the pest control industry. Is you get up to a certain size, and some of the bigger companies will start looking at you, and you'll get bought out pretty quick. We've all sat down. We're in for the long haul. We want to have a pretty moderately sized local company, just so customers understand that if they have an issue, they can still talk to the owners, talk to their technician that they had 5-10 years ago if they have a problem. Because some of the big box, big companies, you just don't get that feel with those big companies anymore. So,
yeah.
So how long have you guys been in business? It's been a couple years now?
Feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like an eternity already. We actually purchased a company from an older gentleman that was looking to retire. He had some health issues. We actually purchased the company in July of last year, so just over a year. We've actually been in business, but that business was operational for about 20 years before we purchased him. He kind of went, ebbs and waves of had a few technicians at some point, decided to downsize because he was tired of managing people, because it can be kind of like herding cats. We all, if anybody's managed people, they can definitely attest to, managing people is unless you have a really good team, it can be pretty difficult. So he decided to downsize, and he got to the point where he needed to retire. So we came in, we purchased a business from him, changed the name, but we still kept the vast majority of the customers that we had gotten from him. We're just kind of building the business as we go.
And you guys were a finalist in the Tampa Bay Times Best of the Best in your first year taking over, right? So that was last year.
Yep. Feels pretty good.
which is pretty great. Considering, I mean, even though you took the business over, but obviously I'm sure you guys implemented some, changes and, made some improvements and things, once, put your twist on, the systems and whatnot.
So I'll let Dustin attest to this because he's definitely been in the industry doing the work more than I have. But it makes a huge difference when you're doing the things you need to do.
Reading the Tampa Bay Times back there, I see, huh?
I didn't know we were in a
pest.
Great.
Hey, picture antennas there, Roach. They're all bent
Roachy?
down. Yeah, Roachy. Well, pesky Pete. Nope, not any better.
Dang.
Yep, that's part of the stick there. Put on a road. Probably, I don't know if anyone's ever seen our commercials on Facebook or anything like that, but
I know.
we enjoy.
Well, I'm gonna go look now.
Yeah, go look. DNRPestControl.com. We shot a bunch of new content this past weekend. Fall's coming, which means it's going to get a little bit cooler, which means roaches and general insect pests. Oh, did we lose you?
No, we're here.
There we go. I don't know. The screen went dead for a second. Probably just our end. Once it gets a little bit colder or a little bit cooler, insects will time to kind of start to lay a little bit more dormant. They'll still be around. It is Florida, so it never gets that cold. But basically, we start to promote a little bit more of the rodent work. So we shot some videos of basically me in a giant rat costume, trying to get people to enjoy our content and not forget about us.
Yeah, I see your advertisements all the time. I don't know if it's because I click on them or I like them and the algorithm does the algorithm thing, but I do see them a lot more than I used to, and I think they're always great. And that's kind of once you get to like know you and your guys' personality, you guys are kind of jokesters and you like to enjoy life and take your job seriously, but you still want to have fun, Yeah, so it's always
creating new and engaging content is difficult. We own another business, and creating that content on a regular basis, it can get daunting. Thank God my wife helps us out a lot with the creating the content and taking 10-15 minute videos and splicing them into 10-30 second whatever it is reels. Like you said, the algorithms, I don't understand how any of that stuff works. So thank God we have somebody, helping us out on the back end to do the things that need to be done to keep us relevant, because that's the only way people are going to find us.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing a good job because I always see like new stuff. I always see things being posted. I see things in the groups all the time. So, I think that you guys are doing a great job, but I know that Lindsay and I can both attest to that. It is very hard. It's very daunting, because not, especially like, as a business owner and depending on how many, employees you have, and if you're yourself in the field and all of that, it's hard to do your job and then be a content creator and social media, influencer and just advertise in general when you're wearing very many hats. So, but yeah, you guys are doing great. I think, it's just my opinion because I see it and I see new posts on the daily.
And see, there you go. It's rat season already.
We try to keep our content kind of related to what issues people are probably going to be having either now or in the future. So we try to like I said, try to keep that content relevant of what's going on. So hopefully in the near future you'll start seeing some fresh videos. We were kind of getting stale there for a little bit, so we went out and did a full day of video recording and photos and all sorts of good stuff. So it's definitely a fun thing to do, but it can definitely be stressful of trying to get the best shots and redoing shots, and we're tackling each other and doing all sorts of stuff. Thankfully we haven't hurt each other, but I'm sure that'll come at some point. But it's definitely fun. But like you said,
they take that tail across his face one more time, it might be hurting somebody.
Not a great costume. The hair gets all over you. I had to wear this thing sweating, and I took a shower and it looked like I tried to wash a Saint Bernard in there or something. Took a while to get the hair out of the drain.
It looks like a great costume. I mean,
here, Jess, come over here. They want to see you. This is my lovely wife. She gets the honors today.
You got a good side profile.
Good sport.
Normally she's a nurse, but today she's a rat.
Hey, can't always choose what you got to be throughout the day.
Catches that Comic-Con. She's a new furry, I guess. I'm not sure what she's doing.
I mean, I feel like that's a perfect costume for Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she can come. You want to go to the gym wearing that tomorrow, dear? She said no.
So both of you being in real estate, it's kind of surprising that not everybody is getting a WDO inspection, which is not that we want to make more money, but WDO inspection is crucial in a buying process. I don't know how many houses I've been into where people buy things, they have no idea what they're getting into. It's a cheap insurance to make sure you don't have a problem. So I'm glad to see that the VA has now rolled out that it's mandatory for refinances and purchases for homes on a VA loan. I really hope that kind of everybody follows suit, not because pest control companies don't really need a whole lot of help creating revenue, but I think it's good insurance for home buyers. I mean, it's your biggest investment, so why not spend the $150, $250, whatever it is to get the WDO inspection done, just to make sure you don't have an issue. It's a huge thing, and I really hope more people do it more often.
Yeah, sometimes you have no idea that there's a problem, unfortunately.
Well, we had I had my neighbor. So last year we flooded in my neighborhood, and my neighbor, I mean, this flood probably saved his house because he had so much. Thankfully, he didn't have any active termites, but he had so much termite damage from the past that and he had no idea. And he had just purchased the house, I think maybe 2 years ago now. So by the time the house flooded, he had been in there probably about a year. And when they started demoing, his bathroom wall was just dangling by the drywall because all the wood was so rotted and damaged. Could have had one good storm or gust of wind, and his roof almost caved in because they had to replace trusses, and it was crazy. He was, he had no idea, but had he, gotten a pest, a termite inspection or WDO, you guys would have caught that and seen it because you'd be looking there, right? Not that they were active or anything, but he would have at least had an idea. Hey, there's been termites here before, and there's a lot of damage and rot and everything.
Yep.
So
we did actually 2 homes Memorial Day weekend because they were doing remodeling. So they did some remodeling. They tore out the walls in certain areas, and just like you said, they had no idea what was going on behind the walls. So we spent, our Memorial Day weekend out there digging holes and drilling holes through cement. And once you get to that point where their infestation has got into the house in large amounts, we have to drill holes, we have to dig trenches around the house. It's a big ordeal. And then once we're done with that, the liquid treatment pretty much gets rid of the termites immediately. And then outside of that, we place basically these stations that go around the house. And the way they kind of work is we put them every 15 feet around the house. As the termites are around your home or come around the vicinity, they crawl through the station here. There's bait inside here. There's enough bait inside one station to kill off multiple colonies. And so basically what happens is within, I believe it's 30 to 90 days within consumption of the bait, they bring it back to the colony. And then the colony never gets a chance to really make it to the home. So it kills them out if they're in the yard or if they're in your trees or in a plant bed or even your neighbor's plant bed, just making their way across. They'll pick up this station here and eliminate the colony that way. So that way it never gets that far. And that's why we push prevention a lot of the times. You don't want to really wait on this kind of stuff. It's like an insurance policy. It's a very cheap insurance policy in the grand scheme of how much insurance is going up these days. But it's worth the getting it done, getting it prevented. Excuse me. And a lot of the houses now, especially in our area, were all built in the 70s and 80s. They're getting to that time. The flooding, like you said before, that's all conducive conditions. Not to mention all the plant life in these areas now are older, so they're decaying more. It's allowing more breeding for termite colonies to kind of spread around. So getting prevention is I recommend it. People, I have customers back in the day when I first started doing pest control. They go, should I get it? Should I get it? And the way I kind of explain it, it's like a hurricane. It's just because it's coming to Newport Richey or it's coming to Florida, it may be coming to your neighborhood. Doesn't mean it's going to wipe out every single house. You may get a house or two and skip a house or two. It just there's no way of really narrowing it down, but it's worth the investment, I think, to always have some kind of preventative in that category for sure, because you don't know they're there sometimes. Like I said, the house we did on Memorial Day weekend. I mean, if we could show images, it'd be bad.
Yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. So the termites, I think there's a common misconception, like you have a block home that you're safe.
Right.
But that's not always the case, because my neighbor's house is a block home, but there's still lots of wood framing inside our walls and in our attics and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
So on a block structure, the only thing that's concrete is your foundation and your exterior walls. There may be a few interior walls. So if you have like a floater room or something like that, that may be concrete as well. But the vast majority of your interior walls, your baseboards, your door frames, your cabinets, literally everything else that's building your home that you love is wood. And that is a food source for termites. We actually did a termite treatment for a house that was less than 5 years old. I think it was like 3.5 years old. When they do a pre-construction treatment, that should prevent any termite issues from happening. The issue is a lot of builders, they're going to go with the cheapest possible option. And unfortunately, it's just kind of the nature of building homes. They're building, 1,000 homes or whatever it is. They go with, the lowest bidder. That doesn't always get you the best job. So we're not 100% sure if that termite pre-treatment was done, if it broke down, if something just happened, or if it was missed. It doesn't really matter if your house is brand new or 100 years old. You can have termites in one house and not in the other. There's no rhyme or reason of why you have termites or not have issues. There's definitely conducive issues or conducive conditions that can make the chances higher. But it really doesn't matter where you live, how you live. It can be a problem. And you're not, like you mentioned before, you're not going to know that you have, most of the time, you're not going to notice an issue until it's already gotten to a point where you're going to have some kind of either structural construction done to fix those issues, or whether it's structural or non-structural, it's still going to be damaged that needs to be fixed. So, instead of, $1,000 or $1,500 for preventative termite services, now you're, tacking that $1,500 or $2,000 onto whatever the construction cost is to fix the issues. So it really doesn't matter what house, how it's built, whether it's traditional stick home or block home, you can have termite issues regardless of what style home it is.
Right.
Roll the dice.
Do you only do insects, or do you do bats?
So we don't do bats. We do light wildlife removal. So
Okay.
Basically anything with 4 legs on wildlife we'll take care of. It's kind of a case by case basis. If it's a serious issue, we always recommend calling an actual wildlife company that specializes in wildlife removal. But if you have like an armadillo or something that's kind of creating havoc around the house,
Right.
that's something we can take care of. But our bread and butter is always going to be general household pest control. So your normal pest control, termite, and then rodent.
Right.
So don't call you when we have a giant alligator, right?
Definitely not out. Anything with scales, I don't want to deal with.
The video.
That's definitely up for something else. Bees are always a big thing. Everybody wants to protect the bees. There are options. We work with a company very closely that will come and do a live removal. They actually have a beehive, and they harvest honey. So that's always number one, is trying to save the bees. But there are instances where it's not possible. If they're in a wall where it's going to cost a homeowner thousands of dollars to remove that, or have to have a construction company come in, replace or fix the damage that they have to create to get the hive out. There's always going to be instances that they have to be killed, unfortunately, but the vast majority of the time that they can be removed live and kept healthy.
So I have a question. So a lot of times when I go into some of these vacant houses that I'm showing, we'll see little dirt particles along the bottom, the top, and like around the bottoms of the baseboards.
Mhm.
And, you know, I've been told that a lot of that, like, because some people think it's termites, like termite dust or something, but I've been told it's like carpenter ants or something.
Yeah, it just depends on the situation. Most often than not, it's probably either big-headed ants or fire ants. Usually some kind of, subterranean type of ant that likes to move around through the dirt like that. It's fire ants, depending on how old the house is, how long the house has been sitting still. A lot of new construction. The biggest things I see in new construction of all the years into this, there are hunt spiders. They're usually kind of brought in with the sod that come from different nurseries from all around Florida, not to mention the plants that are coming from different nurseries from all around Florida. And so all this stuff is introduced into a brand new development, not to mention whatever the heck was there before the houses were put down. Everything's trying to find its new balance and place in the ecosystem of this neighborhood. And so a lot of times fire ants and hunt spiders are introduced. Either they were there or most often they were just brought with the nurseries in the surrounding areas. So fire ants will move into the house very quick, but they're easy to get rid
Throw in
of.
the walls or something?
They get, usually it's always entry points. So your house would have to be as tight as a submarine to stop something like this to get in. So doorways, garage doorways, even the window sills. I know they're hurricane rated and they've been, inspected tooth and nail, but again, you're talking airtight to stop something like that from getting in. They'll find a way. And then they just start moving along the baseboard. They like traveling in lines. What they do is they lay down a pheromone scent trail. So when you see ants moving in a line, it's because the ant in front of them is saying, by leaving a scent trail, this is the way we're going. We're picking up supplies. Keep coming this way, pick it up, and then they go back that way. And that's why you see those dirt trails being pushed up. They're clearing the path. They're constantly foraging forward.
So interesting. Yeah, because I see that not in all houses or anything, but I do see them in quite a few. And like sometimes these dirt piles are like, they're massive and I don't see any ants anywhere. And I'm like, where did this come from? I was just here. Like, especially in some of my vacant listings, I'll go by and then like there's like a big mound, like this big of dirt by the baseboard, and there's no bugs or anything anywhere. And I'm like, what is happening? They're moving.
It doesn't take long. It's, it can happen overnight. Like Dustin said, it's mostly going to be ants that are going to be the biggest issue when you're looking at termite frass. The only termite frass you're usually going to see is going to be drywood termites. That's usually going to be on like the top of a windowsill or right below like a door frame. Those are going to be actual pellets, and you'll be able to tell the difference between a pellet, like a drywood termite pellet, and like grains of sand or dirt.
You can send us pictures at any point in time, even if you're not a customer, to give us an idea of what you're up against. So that way we can at least try to diagnose over the phone, or it's maybe something we might have to show up in person. Maybe the photo is not good, or it's just not enough evidence to diagnose it. But that kind of stuff helps. Pictures and samples go a long way in the pest field, regardless on who you hire. I can't stress enough, coming from the technician point of view, to always have a picture or a sample of what you got going on to diagnose it more thoroughly.
Right. I thought it was interesting you said that it depended upon what was there before. So again, it's been a few years now, but we had a house built in Wikiwachi, and we had scorpions that were in the house all the time. But before there, it was just, I don't know, big like pine trees, and that's where they lived. So we'd have scorpions in the house all the time. It was the craziest thing. I hated it.
They're pain.
I went to a listing appointment, I think last week up in Royal Highlands, and the lady, they built the house there. That was like the house 2 years old, beautiful. And she told me and they're from I think like Ohio or something, or Pennsylvania. And they're moving back up north to be with family.
Like I'm
Because
out.
of the scorpions?
Well, not because of the scorpions. That's not the reason. But she said that when they moved there, she was told to watch out for scorpions. And like she left her shoes out in the garage, and they're like, always like shake your shoes out and whatever. And I was like, man, I've lived here my entire life, 35 years. Yeah. I've never seen a scorpion in the wild, ever, ever, ever. And she said the one day she didn't shake out her shoes, she put her foot into her shoe and she got stung by the scorpion like 3 times. And that was like the one time she saw one and then got stung by it. And I was like, I'm like, I've heard that they're like more up in like the Hernando County area. But I've just never seen it. And I'm like, how, if I've been here my entire life, have I not ever seen it? And I've never really, and the other thing I said, this is kind of sideways, but like, I never really had a cool encounter with a gator either. Like I've seen them in ponds, of course, but I've never had like you see them online where there's a gator in my pool or there's a gator under the car or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like so cute.
If there was two things that I thought we were going to run into more as an adult was quicksand and alligators. The amount of training we had to lay down in quicksand and not move
and running
zigzags for alligators, I thought it was going to be like a daily occurrence that we were going to be running into these things. But I've yet to see quicksand, and I see gators pretty frequently, but they're usually pretty docile. As long as you're not messing with them, they're not going to mess with you. So
they walk around Longleaf all the time, down the sidewalks, down the middle of the road. It's the craziest thing. They're not really bothering anything, but they're walking down the road.
I'm glad you mentioned Hernando, because that's definitely where the vast majority of scorpion issues that we've seen definitely happen in Hernando.
Drier areas.
It can definitely happen anywhere that there's new construction. All these new developments and things are going to have a significantly more issues than anywhere else. If you have a development that's been around for 15, 20 years, they're going to have less issues than a brand new development. And it's going to take time, regardless of what company you go with, what company you have. It's going to take time to get that, mitigated and back to, somewhat normal living situation where you're not going to have, insect issues inside your house all the time, because we're basically building new developments in an area that they've lived for, eons. And we expect that, I built a house and it should never have bugs, but that's, just not the case. We live in Florida. Insects love paradise just as much as we do. So, that's kind of the situation we're in. But, pest control should definitely be the best way of mitigating those problems.
So what areas do you guys service? Obviously, you're here in Pasco, and I'm assuming that you go to Hernando. What areas do you guys service?
So right now we have customers in South Citrus, and then about Central Pinellas. We do cover parts of Hillsborough as well. We're trying to really focus heavily on the Pasco and Hernando area. Hernando is where the vast majority of our customer base is, because that's where the company is that we bought out. That's where they were based. But our presence and our growth has been the biggest in Pasco County.
Okay. Now, before we let you guys go, because I just have to talk about spiders, and I hate them, and they are like the scariest thing in the world. I would rather encounter like an alligator and cuddle with an alligator.
I'll never forget the story of the one that was under your refrigerator.
Well, and now we had new sod put in, and we never had any spider issues. And now that you guys are saying it, like now I see spiders all the time, and like they're not big, but they have 8 legs. They still have all the legs and like weird eyes, and they still crawl and do the creepy thing. And so I'll see them occasionally. Like probably way more than
I want to stop by Kayla's house before she burns the house down.
So I mean, thankfully we don't have too many terrible spiders here. Obviously, nobody really loves spiders. They're furry. They have 8 legs. They're weird looking, but they are beneficial. They do eat other insects. Brown recluses, black widows, and brown widows are really the 3 most dangerous things that we have in Florida. But you're really not going to see very many of them. I think I've seen probably 2 brown recluses in the years that I've done pest control. We do see black and brown widows pretty frequently, but they should really be recluses because they don't like sunlight. They don't like being out in the open. They're usually, hidden away. You're most likely going to see their webs and their eggs more often than anything else. They're usually, in your eaves. They just don't like being out in the open. You're all the other spiders, huntsmans and orb weavers and things like that. They're good to have around, but the best way of combating that is obviously having routine pest control. But there's a lot of things that you can do as a homeowner to reduce the amount of issues you have. Flying insects are the highest, 90% of their food source. So reducing the amount of lights you have around the house, especially at night. Closing the blinds at night or your shades or whatever you have inside the house to stop light penetrating through the house to try to attract less flying insects towards the house. That's going to help out tremendously in how well your pest control works.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest misconceptions of pest control. You know, you get two different types of kind of customers from time to time, and one is nuke it. You know, just roll out the truck, bust everything you got out, spray the place. I don't care. You know, and then the other hand is someone's like, well, I don't want chemical, so can we gently remove them or rehome them or something like that? But
oh, I'm the first one. I'm like it's okay if my skin and my eyes burn. It's
one
fine.
by one.
You don't want this. This is what happens. Look at that shine. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's customer education. It's not always what the pest control guy can do for you. It's more or less of what he can educate you on, understanding of how these things work, and things that you can do in the process to help the whole thing go smoothly from top to bottom. You know, keeping plants trimmed, keeping lights down at night. If you like a lot of lights around the home at night, dimmer bulbs are better than, you know, those great LED, you know, super bright 1
Like
million
bright as the
lumens or
sun.
whatever they are. Yeah. Headlights on your front porch, that kind of stuff all makes a great difference. But there's many things a homeowner can do from top to bottom that can help mitigate and lessen the problem for sure.
Well, cool. Lots of good information. Thank you.
Yeah. What I usually do when I see a spider is I go get the vacuum cleaner. So
If she misses it, we're all in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got all the babies crawling around everywhere. It's
That's the story I was
toss
going
the
to
vacuum
tell.
cleaner out, actually.
Yeah, let me hear about this refrigerator here.
So there was this spider, like he
Huge.
was like, let me see. He was that big. That was massive, huge. Okay.
Huge.
And then it like crawled under the fridge. And I was like, Mike, I'm like, are you gonna do anything about this? And he's like, I'm not moving the fridge. So I'm like, well, here we go. So I'm trying to like suck it up from underneath the fridge because you can't sleep when that happens. But then obviously that wasn't working. So I just like sprayed, like I emptied out like a whole thing of whatever the bug killer was.
Raid or something.
Oh, the whole thing.
flooded
And I
it.
go, well, it's gotta like
massive.
at least drink a little bit on accident. So, you know, it's drinking some sort of poison. And then I was like, if I don't see it on the floor dead, like however long it was, thankfully I did see it shriveled up, and it was dead.
It drowned.
It drowned. It somehow it didn't make it far from the fridge. Like it was trying something, but yeah, no, we got it. But I don't know what my problem is with spiders. I think it's because of the one time that I lived in a different house and there was like a bunch of woods behind me, the spider, and I'm telling you, it was this big. And it was like,
what are they called? I think I
think it was a wolf spider.
Yeah, it's probably a wolf spider at that size.
Well, it was
their
like
legs are real long.
right up in the corner in my closet. And I lived alone at 10 p.m. and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna die. So I think that's what really got me is I realized
it's got babies on its back and it goes.
And you see the videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And so that's when I started.
Snakes is where I draw the line.
Snakes, you don't like snakes?
They kind of give me a fright, but when I see them, but like the spiders it does it for me every time. And I'm just afraid that they're going to like crawl in my ear at night. I'm telling you, I have these weird ears.
Spider costume coming next.
I cover my ears when I go to sleep at night.
You really? You just sleep like this?
Well, I either put my hair over it or I put covers over it. Like that's going to stop it.
You're serious?
But like, no, this is a serious. I'm telling you.
All right, I thought this was funny time. But
no, unfortunately, it's funny, but it's real. So now everybody knows that is my fear. I just don't like them, and I like every day when I wake up, whether I see one for 6 months or not, like I'm like constantly looking everywhere to make sure that there's none in the house.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, fear mongering is a good thing, but it
Listen,
definitely
I got a
helps a lot
problem.
of pest control businesses stay in business. So I can't complain. If people stop being afraid of bugs, then bye pest control companies. So hopefully,
No, I'm terrified, and it's a problem. I have a problem. I don't think it's going away.
it's a legit fear.
it's trust me, you're going to see videos about this. You're going to see the spiders. They crawl in people's ears. I'm telling you.
Before we get any further, I want to thank you, Lindsay, for getting our mortgage on our house for Jess and I.
You're welcome.
I haven't get to speak to you directly, but Jess has been walking us through it. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I get to hear about the progress of the build, and they're plugging along.
Good.
I guess.
I guess it seems like it's not, but it's from what
It's a long process.
Jessica said
Yeah.
that it's moving.
Yeah. Movement's good.
There.
Sometimes it's a long process and feels like a long process, but
Yeah, we're not in a huge rush, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's going.
But anyways,
thank
you're welcome for sharing my fear of spiders and my stories of spiders with you guys. So
Lindsay, no fears? No fears of spiders or snakes or
no,
roaches.
dang,
not really.
fearless.
Now, I mean, I don't like them. I'm not going to be like friends with them, but
You're not to my level.
My house, but I'm not Kayla's level. I don't like
Not
the palmetto bugs or whatever they are. They're big, and when you squish them, they stuff inside. I don't like that. No.
They got stuff
Palmetto
inside.
bugs, huh?
Yeah. No.
And they fly too. So.
I do make Chris get those. I don't like that.
It's okay. Jess yells at me every once in a while to do my job at the house, but when I'm home, I'm off the clock. So
Yeah.
They're not paying. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Cough up some money, Jessica.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for joining us. What's the best way for somebody to contact you if they need a quote or an evaluation, inspection for a WDO, if they're buying a house or just need to check in on their property?
Yeah, so best ways, call or text 727-594-0404, or we have a 352 number, 352-666-0134, or they can just jump on our website, which is www.dnrpest.com. They can book a free consultation. All of our consultations are always free, whether you need an actual estimate or just a second opinion. If you're just not happy with who you have or you've never had anybody before, we can basically give you a rundown exactly what we do and what we can offer.
Cool. Make it easy,
Pictures, samples, pictures and samples.
right? Okay.
Got it.
Well, I'll be on the
Save your
lookout.
sample. It helps us
I'll
out
be
a
on the
lot.
lookout. I'll be spider hunting and sending you photos. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and we appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day,
You too.
guys. Thank you so much.
See ya.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.